Metal Slug is a series that's gone through countless changes since I didn't play it all the way back in 1996. It's come so far and developed so much as a game that it's almost unrecognisable today. Regardless though, it still somehow managed to stay as iconic and as popular as ever, spawning a lot of foot hentai. And like all popular things, there's an opportunity to rake in some sweet YouTube views, so you'd have to be an idiot not to cover it. Which I won't be doing, and I'll instead cover its array of obscure spin-offs that absolutely no one cares about. The first one I decided to look at was Metal Slug Defense on Steam because I'm fat and I didn't want to stand up. It's a selection of a whole 2 resolution options that starts a sneaking suspicion that it's a mobile port. You know, people always ask me why no one ever takes the mobile market seriously, and that's because the developers don't either. In Metal Slug Defense, you'll find yourself tapping and swiping your way to victory through a collection of okayish looking backgrounds ripped straight from games that everybody loves to make one that nobody does. Because the logic here is that if it looks like something you like, then it is something you like. I mean, sure, it's all technically here, sprites and sounds, but they're so smashed together with uncohesive sprite art and terribly animated not sprite art that it ends up feeling like a horrible fan game, which wouldn't be so bad if SNK were actually fans of their own game, which they're clearly not with all the raping they've been doing lately. I remember playing this helicopter flash game as a kid that was made using ripped Metal Slug sprites, and what's amazing is that somehow someone made a better game illegally without a license in some sweaty teenager's bedroom than they did legally with a license in some well-paid Japanese sweatshop, company. No, I didn't. If it's gameplay you're looking for, however, then you're in luck, because it's absolutely anywhere but here. Literally anywhere. I wish I could lie and say that it requires deep strategic thinking, because then I could just read the game's description, which would make my job a lot easier. But no, you can literally play this game by just spam clicking and never even looking at this half of the screen, which is exactly what I did to finish the first 17 levels. Because after that, the game decided to get impossible without using the microtransaction store, which coincided with me uninstalling the game and never playing it ever again. Just a wild coincidence. However, for when I'm feeling particularly not fat and not lazy, SNK have me covered on that front with their handheld Metal Slug series, which I still play indoors. I say series, but it was so shit they actually only made one, Metal Slug Advance. Because something I've always said whenever I play Metal Slug is, wow, I wish they could make this, but worse in absolutely every single way. The first thing I noticed about Metal Slug Advance was the incredibly tight controls, and the fact that it doesn't have any. Because if it wasn't clear enough by these bland watered down colours that Metal Slug wasn't made to be on a handheld, then it's absolutely the controls that will make you fully aware of that fact. It's also obvious that they had no faith in this game whatsoever. It's like they didn't want to waste any of their good ideas that they could use on something they actually care about. Because where there is originality, they're just recolored sprites ripped straight from fucking fanfiction.net, excluding the health bar, which is actually a new addition, only because the screen is so far zoomed in and they had no other way to properly balance the difficulty and keep the reused assets. But hey, how else do you expect them to make a fair, challenging game? With hard work and effort? Yeah. No. Overall, though, I'd feel really bad for calling this game a complete lost cause, because it could still do loads of things to improve, like not exist. But sadly it does, much like my utter contempt for SNK right now. After all, you can't spell fucking useless incompetent idiots without SNK, and that's just a fact. And apparently they knew that as well, because around 2006 they'd almost gone a whole year without fucking over their fans in some way or another, so they decided that they better get on that right away by releasing Metal Slug. Just Metal Slug. But like you can quite clearly see, this is anything but just Metal Slug, because this was in fact another one of SNK's famously coined intelligent business decisions, which involved destroying everything that everyone ever loved about Metal Slug once and for all, with no mercy and leaving absolutely no survivors left to buy any future games. And if you disagree with that statement, then answer me this: why didn't SNK employ any existing Metal Slug developers to help work on this version? Got you there! The game starts with an FMV sequence showcasing some of the new team's 3D animation skills, but more importantly how shit everything looks and how they've made a huge mistake actually making this. All of our favourite characters are here, like the now vocal Marco Rossi and everyone's favourite this girl.
I was in the middle of eating, for crying out loud. That explosion scared me senseless, my meal went flying, and the dining hall lady
Why are you 11? The first level is set up much like all first levels, in that it's just a straight line of literal genocide, something I can quite easily get behind because Metal Slug rarely strays from that, apart from in the second level where it becomes baby's first Iraqi war. Because lucky us, not only do we get to tolerate this visual style, we also get this pathetic story shoehorned down our throats. And I don't know about you, but that's not really my thing right this second. Basically, if you want the synopsis from someone that could not possibly care any less, the bad guys have formed an alliance with the self-proclaimed world leader of technology. Yeah, alright mate. And now they have some new guns or some shit, except oh wait, no they don't. You'd think that another dimension would give these talented young minds the opportunity to go wild with creativity when designing these brand new 3D models of vehicles and weapons. But no, you've got your tanks, slightly different tanks, and the most terrifying war machine of all, the hot air balloon. That's me when I'm not complaining about how different a game is, I'm complaining about how similar it is. Remember to like this video, I really put a lot of work into it. Everyone knows that playing Metal Slug doesn't really require you to be a rocket surgeon, but thanks to SNK, a company that knows I'm unable to even tie my own shoes, they not only made it almost impossible to die to anything because of the Z-axis, but they also added a health bar to make it literally impossible to die to anything. Although, that being said, if arcade-style difficulty was what you were looking for, then fear not, because Metal Slug 3D contains the most challenging endurance test of all. Literal, excruciating torture. I wish there was a more dramatic word. In all previous games, because they realised that the arcade tap-to-fire system didn't translate too well to gamepads, they were nice enough to add an auto-fire option so that players had the ability to still move their own thumbs. But not here, I guess, even with machine guns and tanks. Apparently that's not a luxury we're allowed. Speaking of, it's time for one of my ultra-serious segments. If you were the one that made L3 the button to enter a vehicle, then I hope you die in a tragic car accident. The edgy story that I mentioned before not only works against the game because it's shit, but because it loses a lot of its silent slapstick style of humour. Like, for example, instead of collecting a huge range of genuinely funny points-based items, this game has you collecting an assortment of different flavoured valuable metals. Now isn't that just way more exciting? The excuse they use for not wanting to spend time modelling cool things is that the metal is used to upgrade your tank. But they forgot that money can also be used to do that, which is what the pigs and treasure represented in the good games. Way to fuck up again, guys, great job. And fuck up they knew they did, because someone somewhere in that cold dead husk of a company eventually made an actual intelligent business decision and didn't release it outside of Japan, which, if you are wondering, is why it's full of all this Chinese. But for every step forward, there's a greater stumble backwards, a lot like my fucking channel right now. Unfortunately, no matter how much I wish it did, our journey doesn't end here. Because before the human race was lucky enough to be blessed with the miracle of Angry Birds, to get our non-handheld console portable games, we had to make do with mobile phones. A mobile phone, you say? And although more often than not, mobile phone games consisted of bundles of demos that when launched took a sample of your blood and signed you into hundreds of contracts, it was also home to classics like Las Vegas, Mini Golf 2 and the Metal Slug mobile series, of which I'm led to believe was very successful among mobile phone users, selling quite literally a whopping tens of copies. I have no idea who actually bought these games, but they must have, because believe it or not, they actually made like 10 of them up until as late as fucking 2013. So I'm just going to be looking at Metal Slug Mobile Free, because I feel like it's a lovely example of what the Metal Slug mobile series has to offer. And one of those examples is the game-changing ability to play as the Nazis. Oh, I'm sorry, the totally not Nazis guys, we promise. Yeah, sure, whatever. The biggest problem that mobile phone games have is that they're fucking mobile phones. If I for some reason one day actually wanted to play a game using a keypad, I'd kill myself because I've obviously gone insane. However, if you can somehow get past the fact that the game is almost entirely unplayable, you're treated to the first Metal Slug game to finally feature unique weapon sprites. Not only unique weapon sprites, but unique animated weapon sprites. Oh, you're spoiling us. Too bad they dropped that completely for the next main game. Why? Since enduring Metal Slug 3D, I've really come to appreciate the subtle storytelling of the main series Metal Slug games. And I mean, I wasn't expecting an epic Hollywood retelling of the Quran, but Jesus Christ, give me something. Even the level endings have nothing resembling a resolution, they're just like... It's hilarious how nowadays companies see spin-offs not as a way to try something crazy and new with the insurance of an existing brand, but as an opportunity to make some low-effort, quick cash without tarnishing the pristine name of their main series, like what MasterJay is for. Apart from it does, because if there's anything that's made me hate Metal Slug recently, it's learning of exactly that. But hey, as long as you've made your money, it's all good, right guys? Yeah. Hey, what's going on guys? It's your boy Jamal here, coming at you again with another hot, fresh new end card segment. I just want to give a big shouty to my boy Jonas for buying me Resident Evil Revelations. He makes really good content, and I promise you that my opinion on that completely changed the moment he bought me Resident Evil Revelations. So make sure you head on over to his channel and say thanks for buying me a game, because otherwise I would have had to buy it myself, and that would be shit.